Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I brought both of the Melody Beattie meditation books with me, and so I want to get into them right away. But before I do, I want to say, I keep on meaning to say this every time I start one of these meditation videos, that Melody Beattie recently passed away, and so many people reached out to me and said, I know how much you love Melody Beattie, and I love her too, and first of all, I just want to say thank you for reaching out to me and letting me know. I didn't know that until people started reaching out to me, number one. Number two, I just want to say, it's interesting the older you get in life, and people will ask, like, who is somebody that if they passed away, like, you would be devastated? And I think that we think about musicians and movie stars, and I have been kind of rocked by that in life. Like, it seems like a moment in time, when somebody passes away, because so much of their music or the movies they were in or things like that really was a part of your life. For the past 30 years, I think I found Melody Beattie in my first year of recovery, I think. I don't know when I found her, but her books, her meditation books, her other books that I've read of hers, have really transformed me and have really... I talk a lot about this, that besides the basic text in the 12-step program, the book that has most changed my life is Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. That's saying a lot to say that those two books have profoundly changed not only my life, my perspective on life, my relationships with people, how I interact in the world. To say that a book that somebody wrote so profoundly changed how I look at everything and how I interact with people, and it has. When I get on here and I make videos and I read her meditations, I learn so much about myself and new ways to look at things. She has definitely left a living legacy, and the saddest thing about it is that there will be no more books, but she has left behind several books that I haven't read, and just recently, I bought two of her books that I had not read, and actually one of them is about grief. So I'm excited to get into those books, but in case you guys did not know, I did want to let you know that Melody Beattie had passed away, which is very, very sad. I actually, you know what, let me look on here and see the exact date of it, because I think it was December or January that she passed away, and I did not know that she had passed away, and then somebody reached out to me and let me know. February 27th of 2025, she passed away. Yeah, what a legacy. What an incredible person, right? Changed so many people, definitely changed me, and I am forever, forever grateful for the words and the life of Melody Beattie. And with that being said, let's get in and let's read some Melody Beattie meditations today. Okay, so I brought with me both The Language of Letting Go and Journey to the Heart. Let me see what the meditation is for today. Today is May 13th. And the meditation is property lines. Interesting. I don't know a whole lot about that, or what that's going to be about. This is a helpful tool in our recovery. Maybe we should just get into that and see what it says. What's the day before? Because I haven't read that one. Intimacy, perfection, enjoying the good days. Property lines might be a good one to read. Let's see what Journey to the Heart has to say for today. Did I say May 13th? Did I read May 13th? March 13th. Well, we can say property lines till May. Okay, let's see what March 13th has to say. March 13th. Did any of you catch that? Was I the only one that didn't catch it? Okay. Clarity and distraction, or clarity and direction. That's a good one. Okay. I mean, I don't remember it, but I think the topic is good. March 12th, timing. March 11th, letting go of confusion. Living with families. Oh, these are some really, really good ones. Okay, and let's read the past couple ones, and let's save Journey to the Heart for the next video. Okay, so let's go back and read Letting Go of Confusion, March 11th. I've been using the word confusion a lot lately, if you watch my other channels. So I want to read this one. I think this, and all joking aside, I think this is a good one. Letting Go of Confusion, March 11th. Sometimes the way is not clear. Our minds get clouded, confused. We aren't certain what our next step should be, what it will look like, what direction we are headed. That is the time to stop, ask for guidance, and rest. That is the time to let go of fear. Wait. Feel the confusion and chaos, then let it go. The path will show itself. The next step shall be revealed. We don't have to know now. We will know in time. Trust that. Let go and trust. Today I will wait if the way is not clear. I will trust that out of the chaos will come clarity. Wow. What a great meditation. You know, somebody just commented on me talking about the wheelbarrow analogy in one of the last videos that I did over here. So I don't want to repeat talking about the wheelbarrow analogy, but and getting into a long conversation about it. But the night that Tucker passed away, I had been in a meeting earlier, and somebody brought up the wheelbarrow analogy. And the wheelbarrow analogy, just to be short with it, is basically this guy is standing. There's several different ways of telling it, but this guy is standing on the side of like the Grand Canyon. And this guy is going across the Grand Canyon on a tightrope in a wheelbarrow. And he comes back, and he says, this guy that's watching him, he says, do you believe that I can make it across the tightrope in a wheelbarrow? And he goes, believe it? I mean, yeah, of course I believe it. I just saw you go across it. And he said, do you have faith that I can make it across the tightrope in a wheelbarrow? And the guy looks confused, and he says, yeah, I just said that to you. I said, I believe that. Of course I have faith that you can. I just saw you do it. I have faith that you can do it. And the guy says to him, then get in the wheelbarrow. And I'd heard that that night, and then I came home, and you know, that was the night that Tucker passed away, and I felt lost. I felt very, very lost. And I am somebody that, with my higher power, I just speak. Sometimes I do, you know, very well-known prayers. Sometimes but most of the time I just talk, and I just am like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. And I remember that night I said, standing outside with Boo, I said, I don't know, God, like, I feel like I thought I was in the wheelbarrow, but I don't think I've been in the wheelbarrow for a long time. And I don't really know what else to do than put myself in the wheelbarrow. I felt very, very lost, you know. This was 2 months after the accident. I didn't really know, you know, what was going on with my life. I didn't know what was next. I was scared. I was terrified. I didn't know what my life was going to look like going forward. And so, I didn't really know what else to do. And I mean, I remember standing outside and just literally being like, God, like, I'm putting myself in the wheelbarrow. Now, I cannot say that every day since then I have been in the wheelbarrow, you know, that I have been in this complete state of faith that things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to. I struggle with that. I still do. I still struggle with just putting everything into that. When things get really bad, what I realize is that I don't really have any other option. You know, one of the things that my sponsor says that I love, she says you can't pick your agnosticism, which means that, you know, being agnostic is, you know, like, you can't pick if you believe that God exists in something or not. Like, God either is in everything or in nothing. And you can't say, like, oh, that's a God moment, but that's not a God moment, right? Like, and I love that. And I love that idea of it. But, like, when things are going good, when things are going great in my life, I don't necessarily question the direction of how things are going. Like, if everything's going really great in my life, it's not like I sit for a second and go, is this the way that things are supposed to be going? It's typically only when things are going not the way that I expected them to go, or not the way that I want them to go, that I get very up in my head. And I'm like, okay, like, what should I have done differently? God, right? And so I get very confused. And I don't think this is a God thing either. You know, my husband is a complete atheist, and we've had lots of conversations about being lost, being confused, and things like that. And whereas as I believe in a spiritual being that guides me and leads me, my husband is more of like, well, I just think whatever's going to happen is, you know, I can't control a lot of what's going to happen next. I just have to trust the process, kind of, you know? And so they're very similar ideas from two completely different points of view, which also proves that you can't have conversations about spiritual beliefs with somebody that has not similar beliefs as you, and you can have, I mean, for 17 years, we've had these conversations. They've never once ended in a fight. We've only learned from each other, which I think is amazing. But, you know, like, I think that this idea of being confused, that moment, something changed in me. And what I realized in that moment was, I don't have to be sure of anything in the moment. And I also don't have to act on it. And this was the most important lesson that came out of my confusion in the months after that, was that, you know, this idea of belief and faith. And I was like, I really believed that, you know, like, God was going to come to me and speak to me, and I was going to hear it in a way, or, you know, there was going to be a sign or something. And sometimes there are, and you don't realize it, or you think there are, and you don't realize it till years later, and you go, oh, that was a sign, or that was a red flag, or that was a green flag, you know, not even if it's a God thing, just red flags, right? But what I know today is that when I'm confused in a situation, when I'm not sure of a situation, and I'm not talking about like somebody asking me to a movie and I'm confused, should I go or not? I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about serious situations. I don't have to, if it's a situation that has to be made in the next 24 hours, I'll make that decision in the next 24 hours, right? But I don't have to make it in that moment of panic, fear, and chaos. I can hit the pause button. I can make myself a cup of coffee. I can go outside. I can call a couple people with different points of view, take it in, think to myself. I can pray on it. Like my husband, he can listen to some music. I can just sit in that moment and then say, you know what? I'm going to sit here for an hour. I'm going to sleep on it. That's something I've learned in recovery, is to sleep on things. The next morning when you wake up, the way you feel is what you should act on. But in that moment, I don't have to respond. I think one of the biggest downfalls I've ever had in my life is feeling like in a moment of immediacy, I had to react to a situation or something that was going on when I absolutely had no need to react to it in that moment. It could have waited. It could have waited for me to respond. It's the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is a jump to like response, or jump to like action. Responding is when you take in all the information, you sit back and you go, okay, now this is a well-formed response that I want to make. I've learned to do that. I don't do it 100% of the time. I think I'm probably at maybe 65% of the time now. But that's a lot better than 1% where I was before, right? And it's saved me a lot of trouble through the years. Through the last 5 years, I would say it saved me a lot of trouble not being so reactionary. But when I'm confused about a situation today, or I don't know what to do, I do not have to make a decision in that moment. You know, even if it's a decision where somebody says to me, okay, come back to me in an hour, I don't have to be like, no, okay, I'm going to do the decision right now. I can go and I can sit in peace, you know? I can go lay on the bed. I can go sit outside. I can go take 5 minutes and be like, okay, what do I really want to do in this situation? I think that's one of the lessons I've really had to learn in a hard way, is to hit that pause button, that I can hit that pause button. You know, maybe it's not a decision that I can wait 2 weeks to make, but maybe it's a decision that I need to make in the next hour. But I can pause on it, and I can talk to people, and I can run through my thoughts, or if I have nobody to talk to, I can write it down, or I can think to myself, let's think about this. Like, let's not be in confusion. You know, I think sometimes for me, being confused is a response because I don't want to deal with whatever's being handed to me. And so I just go, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know what my direction is. I feel lost. I'm scared and whatever. It's a combination of all those things that leads to me being like, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And usually I do know what to do. I just don't want to do it sometimes. Usually I do know what the next decision should be. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's between two decisions. I'm just kind of waiting and you just have to go with it, you know? I remember years ago talking to my dad, and I can't remember what the decision was. I mean, this was like 10 or 15 probably years ago now. And like, I needed some help in making some decision. And he said, I'll help you making the decision, but it'll be a decision that like I would have made for my life, not a decision that you would make for your life. And he said, you know, and this is where he talked about, you know, the decision tree and that it branches off. You make a decision, he branches off again. He said, you know, Peter, he goes, I would love to tell you exactly how to live your life based on mine. That, you know, I made these mistakes, I had these successes, and if you based your life off of it, then you would have an amazing life. He goes, there's not a parent that wouldn't want that. He goes, the problem is that you have to make your own choices and your own decisions because your life doesn't look like mine. Ultimately, okay, when we're confused, we have to make a decision at some point. That decision might be the right decision, and we're going to learn from that, or it might be the wrong decision, and we're going to learn from that. But ultimately, we just have to make a decision. My dad also shared that with me. He said, most of the things I've learned in my life were by making the wrong decision, you know? And I think that was a very valid point. It's not about getting all caught up in chaos and confusion. Sometimes it's saying, okay, and I think this is part of what we call adulting. It's like, I have to make a decision, you know? And that's part of growing up. It really is. And it's a hard thing, you know? But you can do it. You can do it. And you'll look back from it, and whatever decision you made, you'll learn from it, you know? But you can hit the pause button and think on it. You don't have to make a 2-second response, you know? I mean, I know that there are isolated incidents where you do have to make a 2-second response, but this is not what that meditation is talking about. All right, so that was good. Let's read the next one. Should we read the one for today, which is clarity and direction? Or should we read the one which is about timing? Let's read timing. Timing, March 12th. This is from yesterday. If we could untangle the mysteries of life and unravel the energies which run through the world, if we could evaluate correctly the significance of passing events, if we could measure the struggles, dilemmas, and aspirations of mankind, we could find that nothing is born out of time. Everything comes at its appointed moment. By Joseph Sizu. Timing can be frustrating, she says. We can wait and wait for something to happen, and it seems to be forever until it comes to pass. Or suddenly, an event or circumstance is thrust upon us, catching us by surprise. Believing that things happen too slowly or too quickly is an illusion. Timing is perfect. Today I will trust and work with divine order. I will accept the timing in my life today and in my past as being perfect. It's interesting. I don't know that I necessarily believe that timing is perfect, but it's a tool that I use. It's definitely a tool that I use. And I will tell you that it's something that I struggled with for a long time because, and it kind of led to jealousy and envy, honestly, in my life a lot, because I would see other people have things or get things that I wanted, and I would say, well, why isn't this happening to me? I've worked hard enough. I've gone through this in my life. Why are they getting it and I'm not getting it? And it was really had nothing to do with them at all and everything to do with me. And, I would talk to people in recovery about it and things like that, my sponsor, and they would say, maybe it's not your time, or maybe that's not meant for you, And that was such a hard thing, because if you ever wanted something so bad and somebody else got it and you thought, and somebody says to you, well, maybe that's not for you, maybe that's not your road. And you're like, but I want that road. Well, maybe you do and maybe you don't. Maybe you end up taking a different road and that road leads you where you're really supposed to be. Today, the timing thing is actually something that I use when I'm struggling a little bit. If I find myself, I don't really, to be honest with you, deal a lot with jealousy and envy today. I try to put myself in the shoes of other people and think about, it is something that I dealt with in the past, but I try to put myself in their shoes and I try to think, how would I want my friend to respond to this? I would want my friend to be excited for me. And I try to do that today. And the other thing is, I've learned this at several moments in my life that when I went to my 20-year high school reunion, I wanted to do this show up moment where I was like, I made it, you didn't keep me down. And that was part of it, but really part of it was that so many people were very excited about my life at that time. And, I'm meeting these people that are living in, $500,000 homes and have great jobs. And, my husband and I at the time were struggling but we're taking little trips here and having fun and doing this and going to music festivals. And everybody was so they were excited about our life, And I thought, my journey does not ever look like somebody else's journey. Where I am at and where I'm supposed to be is not, and then years later from that, I had a friend of mine that said to me, when you compare yourself to somebody else, you always lose by comparison. And what I realized was, over people telling me experiences that I had, that my life does not look like somebody else's for a reason. That my life is individual. That it's my journey is individual. Your life does not look like somebody else's. You can be inspired by somebody else to say, oh, well, Peter has a YouTube channel. I want to have a YouTube channel. That's being inspired. But to say, well, why, I wanted to, have this and that, and I wanted to have that home, and this person has that home. Why don't I have that home? I think we immediately go to, well, I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't do this, or I did work hard enough, and why didn't I get those things? Well, maybe that just wasn't part of your journey, I don't know. To me, sometimes I use it as a tool to go, well, it's timing, and maybe the timing isn't for me right now. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to have. Because for all of us, for me, I can only speak, I guess, for me, is that when I have looked at things and been and gone to jealousy and envy, because I think a timing thing is about that, when I've said, well, I've worked hard, I want this, why is that person doing this, and I'm not able to have it, right? What I forget in that moment is that there's been many moments in my life where I'm sure people have looked at me and said, well, why is Peter getting that, or why does Peter have that, and I have it, and I want it, right? One of the hardest things for me to hear when I started on YouTube was when I would talk about my friend Tanya a lot. And I would get comments from people that would say, I've never had a friend, let alone a best friend in my life. And at that point, I assumed we all had friends. Everybody took friends. I grew up not really even having a lot of friends. But here I had this best friend, that I had been through so much with and was my heartstone. And I was taking it for granted. And there were people out there that never had that, And so I have to look at things from all perspectives and realize that my life journey, it's not, maybe not about timing. It's just that my journey looks different than everybody else's for whatever reason. Maybe it's not divine. Maybe it's not even of the universe. Maybe it just is because, know, that my journey looks different than somebody else's. Maybe it's all based on my choices that I made, that I ended up here and somebody else ended up here, you know? I think it's acceptance of where you're at in your life and having gratitude for where you're at in your life and what you've been given. That, for me, is the greatest tool of all. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.